Welcome! Let me introduce you to HypeHype. You can find games just by swiping up. You only need to tap to start playing instantly. And show some love to the creator by liking or commenting. Here's the catch. All the games are made with the app. You can create your own games and you don't even have to start from scratch. We'll help you with tons of free tutorials and templates. Publish your game instantly to become a game maker. Create a personal profile and get likes and followers. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
Thanks for joining. Let's get started. What's happening, Hypesters? Welcome back to the HypeHype Live. As always, I am Shogun. Today is a HypeHype Helpdesk stream, which means we're going to be doing some stuff in the editor. And of course, there is going to be time for some questions. I only have some kind of short demos prepared for today. Seems like it's a little darker in here than usual, a little dramatic. Maybe I didn't turn my lights up enough. Why is there a delay in the chat? I guess there's a delay in the chat. I couldn't tell you. I mean, there's some delay. I think we tried to lock it down so that it would have minimal delay, but there's always going to be some. Okay, before I jump into the main demos for today, which are going to be taking a look at the party info and a multiplayer info nodes to what we're going to do is create a team system so that parties get put into different teams. It's a pretty basic setup, but the foundation that we're going to be using for that will be relevant to pretty much anything you want to build with parties. So I think that's a good place to get started. How do I make a character that moves? All right, well, there's a lot of different ways depending on what you want to do, but the easiest one is going to be to use a premade. I can show you that in just a moment. Actually, I'll show it to you really quickly here. If we just go to start from scratch, boom, boom, we go here, we go to premades. And the very first one here is a platformer player. So we just add that, boom, we got a player that moves. Now, if you have more specific movement that you want, of course, you might need to build that. It depends on what exactly you're looking for. But it gets a little complicated. I'll turn on the game cam. Yeah, thank you, PT. Thank you. But yeah, there's my guy. I added him from the premades. And we do have a lot of different ones. So like if we go to premade here and we search for player, you know, we have the platformer, which is probably the most popular one. We got dogs here. We got a different platformer. We got shooters, fighters, touch to follow, jumping and stomping. But I like this platformer player 3D. It's a super useful to get a basic moving character. Blue dude. I don't know if I know what blue dude is. All right. There's questions. People need help. That's great. Before we jump into too much Q&A, there are two things I want to get out of the way. So the first one, multiplayer modes. You may have noticed in recent updates, we have been changing, updating tools with the multiplayer modes, essentially aimed at making the See Others multiplayer mode to be more functional as a full multiplayer mode. And the main reason for this being that the custom multiplayer mode is quite difficult to work with. And we're trying to make that easier for creators. So this is more of a heads up. I don't have anything to show you today, and I don't really have like concrete details to talk about. But the ultimate goal in this process is to get rid of the custom multiplayer mode and make it so that whatever you want to do in multiplayer, you will be able to do in the ghost mode. And in fact, all games by default are going to be the ghost mode. There isn't going to be another mode. So that's just a warning for you guys. If you are actively developing something with the custom multiplayer mode, I would definitely recommend that you consider that those tools are going to be going away, and you might want to switch over to using the ghost multiplayer mode. We do already have here, if we go to multiplayer settings, In the See Others mode, we have Enable Collisions, so this will allow players to collide with each other. We have Physical Objects here now, which will allow you to define objects that will be shared by all players in the lobby. And so those are two things that are making the See Others mode more like just regular multiplayer. So use the See Others, don't use the custom. The custom will be going away. More details coming in the future. Okay, so that was item number 1 out of the way. Item number 2, what I want to talk about here is using tools to support parties. Okay, some good questions here. Some good questions. How do you change jumping animation? We can look at that. How do I put my obby on the ground? Nuke, what's going on? Number 1 fan of HypeHype. I can't necessarily argue with that, man. Welcome to the stream. Moving ball character for a ball game. Okay, we can take a look at that too. And again, how to change the jumping animation. We will take a look at those in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at how to sort players into teams based on what party they are in. There's going to be some party stuff coming. There's new party features already released and some more on the way. So it would be very cool if your game supported parties in some way. So what we're going to do here is set up what you can see here already is like a pretty simple logic setup that will sort our players into different parties based or if different teams based on what their party is. So what I'm going to not show you the setup for here is I have created a few different players. Right now they're just different colors. Otherwise they're exactly the same, but these are our teams: red, blue, yellow, and green. And those are being shared in this list here. This is something we've talked about a lot on this stream, making different versions of your playable character, sorting them in lists. It's how we do skin shops, and it's how, in this case, we're going to do multiple teams. Then the next thing we're going to need, this is the part I am going to show. We're actually, I'm not sure if we're going to need the player info node. When I wrote the messaging for the stream today, I was like, player info node. But actually for this demo, we do not need it. We're going to be using the multiplayer nodes. So we're going to go to the add node, and we're going to go to the bottom here, multiplayer. We need multiplayer events, and we need multiplayer info. So in the multiplayer events, we're going to set this notify section just for me. That means that only the player that executes this is going to be getting that, right? And essentially that's because when the player joins, we need to get that player index, but we don't want to send that player index to every player. We just want to use it locally on that own player's instance of the game. And so we get on player joined, and that is going to send a player index. So when the player joins, we're going to send a player index into the multiplayer node. And then from there, we send the player index in, and then from there we can see right here the party index. And so we're going to send that into a math node. And in this case, the math node is just so that we can support more than 4 parties, right? We have 4 teams, but what happens when a 5th party joins the game? And all we're going to do there is we're going to set this output type to wrap to range, and we're going to go 0 through 4. And what that means is we're going to get 0, 1, 2, 3, and then at 4, it's going to wrap back to 0, which means when that 5th team joins, they're going to be joining the 1st team. This, of course, isn't necessarily going to keep balanced teams, but it will make sure that each party that joins is added to the next team on the list instead of a team that has just received players. So we will send our party index into the math operator. That'll be value A. And it's not actually, we don't need it to do anything. Oh, this is not what we wanted, value B. This max needed to be set to 4. My bad. Min 0, max 4. The B doesn't really matter. We could even just change this to something else, but you know, A plus 0 is going to be the value that we want. And then from there, we're just going to output that. That is now the index of which skin we're going to spawn. So we'll send that value output to the index of our list value inspector here, which is looking at this list of our skins. And then just like we've looked at before with skin shops and all that stuff, that is going to output the skin to the spawner. And so I'll get rid of these ones. That was just the same thing. We've just rebuilt it. And what we should get here now is first player that joins is red. Of course, it's a little difficult to test. But if I come here and I join on my phone, there we go, there we go. Boom. Oh, I need to back out of here. I need to play it from here. There we go. So now we got, on my phone, I'm on red team. On my tablet here, I'm on blue team. Now, if we wanted to expand on that a little bit, whoops, we could say maybe we have multiple spawn points, right? Because we don't necessarily want teams to spawn on top of each other. So we'll get another spawn point here. Boop, boop. We get, how's going to be the best way to do this? Because what we're going to want to do is send to a different spawn point based on the index of this. So we're going to say here that we're going to not execute when we send the object to spawn. We're going to have another list, which is our spawn points. So let's say we have 4 teams here. Boop, boop. Duplicate that. All right, so now we have 4 spawn points, all opposite of each other. We're going to put these into our list as our team spawn points. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That list will be there. We'll need a second, no, not containerize, duplicate. We'll need a second list value inspector, which is looking at this list. And this is going to be going, instead of object to spawn, we're going to do spawn at, and then that will execute. So now this math needs to send its index to both of these. It needs to execute both of these. And now it should spawn us at a different spawn point, depending on where we're at. Again, I'm going to have to save here and exit in order to properly test this. This is a challenge of working with multiplayer and party stuff, is that it's not the easiest to test. Let's reload this game on my phone. Apparently I messed something up because it didn't spawn us a guy. Why did it not spawn us the guy? It gets the index, it sends the object to spawn from that list. And then it gets the index, it sends the spawn at. What if we do this backwards? We flip these around. And then this guy executes. All right, that has spawned us a guy. Let's test. And then once I test this and we have it working, we will move on to the Q&A, because you guys had a lot of great questions there. We're going to exit out of here. We're going to join in. And again, it's not spawning the guy. What if I join here? Dupe, games, drafts, party test. Okay, on my phone it gave me a guy. For some reason. Oh, I broke something here. Now it's spawning multiple people. I broke it, and I'm not sure how. Okay. Let's open this back one more time. I'm gonna see if I can see what I've done wrong here. It's doing the spawn at, which is right. And this is sending the same value to both of these. This list is objects, yes. It's got the objects. It should be sending those as the spawn at point. What if this has nothing? There's a guy. But the guy spawned there previously. Can I record voices to HypeHype or not because I'm a voice actress? Dope. Yes, of course you can. And I will show you exactly how to do that in one moment. Once I figure out what I have broken here. What if I'm going to just test this one more time. If this doesn't work, we'll move on. You guys have some awesome questions. Maybe I'm not in a party. Is that why? It's not getting a party index because I'm not in a party. I don't know. Well, that was a little bit of a dud. I'm sorry, but you guys get the basics. Let's just review one more time because what I really wanted to show here was not how to set up multiple spawn points, but it was really this little system right here. Multiplayer events, on player joined, you get the player index, you send that to multiplayer info, and from there you can get the party index, and then you can build all kinds of things based on the party index. Sky's the limit, right? It's up to your imagination. Okay, so now let's back out of here and let's jump into Q&A since you guys have so many awesome questions for me. I'm going to go into an empty one here. I'm going to try and remember some of the early ones. Really quick one. You want to record your voice? You can do it directly in HypeHype. You go down here at the bottom, Asset Creator, and then you have Record Audio. I don't think this is going to work because I have stuff plugged into my tablet right now, but you just hit the button, you record your audio, and then when you're done, you can trim it. You can see here it didn't record anything because my microphone's not working at the moment. Once you have it, you can save it, and then you can use it in your game. But you can also, when you go to record, you can go open file, and then it'll bring up your file system on whatever device you're doing, and you can actually upload audio files. And what it's looking for sound effects, I believe it wants a WAV file, and for music, it wants in MP3. So there we go. That was audio recording. There was a question about changing the jump animation. So if we go to a premade here, and we grab the platformer character again, platformer 3D premade, awesome character to get a quick and easy 3D controllable character. But let's say we don't want this jump animation. If we go into the asset library and we look at animations, we can see that we have, jump. We have all manner of jumping animations. I'm a big fan of the running jump. That's a good one. The forward jump is a nice one. The athletic jump can be pretty showy in certain situations. Let us get, I'll do the forward jump here, all right? But we can grab any of these that we want. Now what we have to do is edit our pre-made a little bit, but we don't need to do much here. It's going to be super easy. We're going to find our player controls container there. We're going to open that up, and we have a bunch of nodes in here. Now, unfortunately, this is a little bit of an older pre-made. So the logic here is not like super nicely laid out for readability. Because it looked different. The way nodes were laid out looked a little bit different when this was made. We only had these small nodes, and then you had to open it up, as opposed to these bigger ones where you can actually see what they're doing. But we are going to go into here, and we're going to find where our jump animations are going to be. I believe these are coming from the 2 to 4 decoder. So we can see here we have 2 outputs that are outputting a jump animation. Both of these are using the jump pose. If we want to change that, we can just go in here. We can grab our new jump forward pose. And now we have jump forward pose. Boom. Woo. Boom. There we go. New jump animation. Of course, we don't want to leave this guy floating in the sky. We're done with him. We've used his animation. We can delete. Okay. Now I see some more questions. There was one more I remember reading earlier, which was another pretty simple one. Whoops. And that was, we want to make a rollable ball, right? So actually, first thing we're going to need here is I'm going to do this in some sort of scene. Do we still have scene examples on this page? No. Well, we'll go in here. We just need something around so that we can see the movement of our ball, right? Because if we're just rolling a ball around on an infinite plane, we can't really tell how fast it's moving, how maneuverable it is. So let's just get something here that has a pattern, like the models. Something big? No. Well, this will work, and I'll just scale the crap out of it. All right, we're going to put this on the ground, and just so that's not in our way. And that's just so that we can see the movement that we make, right? So now the next thing we're going to grab is a ball. Simple ball we'll use here. All right, now the basic setup for a moving ball is quite simple. Where's our camera? Let's turn on the view here. Let's take our camera. We're going to target the camera to the ball. And for this, we're going to do fixed. And that's going to mean that the camera will move with the ball, but it's not going to rotate. And this is going to make it much easier to do the controls, because if the camera can rotate, then your controls also need to rotate. And we're just going to, for the ease of doing a quick demo here, we're just going to skip that part. Then we're going to need 2 force nodes. Also, we'll check this ball. This ball needs to be dynamic. So we'll have a force node that points forward. And then we'll have a second one that points to the side, like so. And then we will grab a joystick. And from the joystick, we are going to want to do the, we have move X and move Y. That's what we're looking for here. So X is left or right, Y is up and down. So with X, we want to send the value to our, there we go, force amount. We will execute as well. And then with the Y, we want to go to this force amount. Where is it? Amount. Again, we want to execute. And so here, it's going to be really fast at first, as you can see, really quick. So what we want to do there is we just want to clamp down those values a little bit. We can see here we have move X and move Y both go from -1 to +1. We could maybe, I think dividing it by 10 might be a little extreme. It might make our ball pretty slow. it's not terrible. And it does kind of pick up momentum. So there's that. But there you go. That's the super basics of building a movable, like rollable ball. Okay, so let me go back here a little bit. How do I put my obby on the ground? That was one that we saw earlier. What do you mean by that? So I assume you have built an obby in the sky, and you want it to be on the ground. It might be rather difficult. It depends, though. So let's say we have this here, right? This is in the sky. Obviously, it's one object, super easy to just take it and move it. But let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that this is like 100 objects. Grabbing them all at once to move to the ground might be rather difficult. But of course, we do have area pick, so you can just go and pick an area, and then it'll select everything in that area. Then you can move it down to the ground. But let's say even area pick is probably going to not select everything that you want to move. Let me. So one simpler solution, I think there is some limits on this, so it might not work. But if we go to build and ground settings, we can go here and we can just adjust where our ground is, but that does have limits to it. It can only go from -20 to +20. So we see here, even moving the ground up to the +20, it did not reach the height of our object here. So that probably will not work for you if your thing is really high in the sky. You know, probably the most tedious way to do it is if you have multiple objects, you can just select all of them manually. The way you select multiple objects is you select one, and then you hold a finger on the screen, and with a second finger, you can tap more objects, and then you can move those down to the ground like that. Do I need $200 to redeem your money? Yes, you need to reach $200 worth of Hype Cash before you can cash out. How to make a light source. All right. So light light sources are a fairly new thing to HypeHype. We haven't had them for very long. But I can show that to you in just a moment. And then I see here I have a bug in my game. It fails to I don't know what that says. Fails to something, the player, for the second time. It works the first time, but suddenly it doesn't. Yeah, we can take a look at that, Iver. Definitely. How to turn on use calculated value for execute. That's a really quick one. So let's say we have a number node, and that's going to go out to like a broadcaster. This is something that I do all the time. And we send this number node, boom, execute with data. And by default here, for some reason, it uses 0 instead of the calculated. Like we have a 5 in here for, whoops, if we put a 5 in there, this is still outputting 0, which is kind of annoying. But really easy to fix. You open up this menu here by tapping the link, or you can even do this when you first make the link. And then you just tap on that number, and then there where it says use keyboard value, you tap on that again, and it says use calculated value. Now we're sending that 5. Then there was the light sources thing. How do you delete the ground for an obby? That's a pretty easy one too. I'll show that really quickly. Then we're going to look at the light sources. So again, in the build menu, we go to this ground menu at the top here where it says ground type, infinite plane. We just go empty, no ground. Okay. And then, dude, we're just like firing through them here. There's a question, is it better to compress MP3 files before importing, or should we upload them in max quality and let HypeHype handle optimization? That I honestly do not know the answer to. Good question. Obviously, when you upload files to HypeHype, HypeHype is going to compress them. Now, how well it is going to optimize versus if you optimize it first on your end, I don't have an answer for that one. Now let's look at this Iver question. So let's jump out of here. We're going to actually go look at a game. What is Iver? Is that the best? Sorry, it's hard to read my chat from here. Like that. There you go. Cool. All right, we're going to take a look. Are we looking at a live game or at a draft? Still the Squid Game one I looked at before. All right. So, Squid Game online. Oh, this is nice, dude. I'm not going to need to, I'm going to remix here. Oh, I can't because this is a draft. I am going to have to just go in and mess with your stuff. I'm going to try not to break anything. I won't save anything. And of course, if I did, you could use version history. Wow, I like your environments here. These are really nice. All right, so what are we looking at here? Which is the problem area? What should I be searching for? What logic do I want to find? Player logic from viewpoints. Great job using viewpoints. These are so helpful. Okay. So, whew, okay. Are we looking at player controls? Is at the right end. Teleport player, this is what we're looking at here. Okay, these are just plain containers. Oh, this is a behavior. So here's one thing I would say. This guy that is outside of your behavior is probably problematic. I don't know if this is what exactly this is doing here, but definitely you want stuff that is going to link directly to nodes within the behavior to be within the behavior. And then wherever this is getting its data, so we have a timer there and a button there, I would send those values through a broadcaster. Or some other means. You could potentially use a function or an interface depending on exactly what you're building. So that's the first thing I would do. Without even knowing what this is doing, I would get rid of that, however you want to do it. I assume this probably needs to be in there, and then these are both just executes coming at it. Execute. So this guy is executing the disable. And what is this one doing? This is executing the disable. Yeah, so we could probably just make like a new broadcast signal. Broadcaster, we could call this, I guess, disabled. You have one called disable already. Doesn't sound like it, or doesn't look like it. So we just make a new one, disable, boom. And so now here, this will execute the disable. We can get rid of this one. And if we want to, I don't know if it matters, but we can move this into the same position in the order. And then again, which one was it? It was this one. So are these these are just plain containers. Plain containers, you can kind of do whatever you want. You can send links in and out. It's the reusables and behaviors that you really want to avoid that with. So just for ease, I'm going to use this same broadcaster, execute with data. And you can see here again, it's sending 0, which in this case doesn't matter. We're just executing, but you know, back to that previous question. And then disable here was the last one. And then up here, we add the broadcast listener. Disable, execute. So, when is this teleport used? How can I like test it? I'm guessing like maybe we go to a game or something and it's going to teleport us away. Okay, so now we teleported to red light, green light. Oh, this is awesome, dude. Your presentation is great. I love it. Oh, I can run. Okay, I can't see her. Let me run. And we run. Oh, I love you have the hype pet there waiting for me too. Really nice. Run. Oop. Yup. Hey, and then my pet came back. Oh, and he's giving me the hearts. Oh, I love it. I love it. And then I guess here, am I waiting until it's over, or do I go like back here? Return the lobby. Okay. And so that teleported me back. So when the door opens again, is this where it would break previously? Or have we already kind of bypassed that by fixing that thing that was outside of the behavior? Oh, it teleported me to nowhere. Hey, but it brought me back. That's nice. Now there's a timer, though, for a game that I guess I'm not playing. Okay, so that's the problem. It doesn't teleport you to the right place. Okay, so let's see if I can figure this out. What do we have here? Okay, we have movers. All right, so if I'm understanding this correctly, the mover is going to move this reference object, I guess we'd call it, to the place where you want the thing to spawn. And then from there, it moves the player there, I'm guessing. So you got a switch here. It's deciding which value inspector to execute. What are these guys looking at? Where do they get their source? Because at least this guy here doesn't seem to have a source, or at least it's not showing me a linkage line there. It does have something, though, because it says visual and I can clear it. Are these sources, I'm assuming, are outside of this container? Because that, again, might cause some issues. Yeah, okay. So the source cubes are outside the container. That again might cause issues. Obviously, it works the first time, but then it doesn't work. I think that would probably be the next thing that I take a look at. So like you said, go look at the doll view. Doll game. All right. So this is our player reference. So what I might do here is maybe set up a little behavior for each one of these that can send this through this as an object through a broadcaster, right? So we would have here, you know, probably a broadcast listener. Then we would have our value inspector. And then we would have another broadcaster. So we set this as our source. This would be, it seemed like you had like a game start game, and that was using channels, if I remember correctly. So you could set this to whatever channel it is that's going to be the doll game. Oh, this needs to be a broadcast listener. My bad. Broadcast listener. So this would be start game, whatever number the doll game is. Let's say it's 1. I think it might have been 0 for you. I don't remember. And then we could execute, and then send this through there. Now, the other thing, though, is you do have... So this would be a TP endpoint. I don't know. Let's call it something like that. Since you have this set up separately already, you probably actually don't need this part. This part. What am I selecting? There we go. You can probably just execute this when the game loads. You execute all your value inspectors. And then if we go back to player logic here, where was that? It was here. So then here, instead of, how would be the good way to do this? Those are sending, let's go back to the doll game where we set this up. This is sending, okay, we'll send the position vector. That's perfect. Nope, we don't want to leave there. We'll go back to our player logic, zoom in here. And now, instead of all these value inspectors. We can get rid of those. We can go in here, add a listener. Where did it send my listener? Where did it put it? Give me a broadcast listener. All right, there it is. So we can get this, and well, we said that one was 1, so we're gonna say this is 1, and that's gonna send. Well, we have 0 there. It's the doll game. So 0 will set its target to the vector there, but it doesn't need to execute it. It just needs to give that vector. Then at the start of when the game starts, it'll send that vector to all of these. If you do that for each of these, the vector is going right to the mover instead of coming through this value inspector. So then from your switch here, you can just go and execute the whichever one of those movers you want. Now, if you want to simplify this whole thing, it would be possible to just have one mover here, and then send it that position when you need it, depending on where you want to go. Now, I don't think this is going to work right off the bat with what we've done here. Does it go in order? This should be, oh, I didn't. Sometimes I do that, name the wrong thing. Okay, so we have TP endpoint. And we'll use here, and we could even make this, I would probably make this a behavior, and then you just have to input the index, which will set your channel. And then you can set that behavior to each of these cubes and it'll send. And in that case, though, if you were to simplify that and have one mover, in that case, you cannot send all of these values at once. You would need to call for it and send it when you need it. In which case, we would, again, put the broadcast listener back at the front and then execute that when we needed it. And again, like, I'll just do it really quickly. Like, we could set all of this, containerize that. Let's get a puzzle piece. Whoops, not puzzle, puzzle. There we go. This is going to be our reference object. So now this is going to that. This is going to be, I don't know, I would usually call this maybe like fetch TP endpoint, something like that. It's kind of a long name, but and then in here we could say add an input number. The number will be our index, and then that index will go to the channel. Whoops. To the channel of both of our broadcasters and broadcast listeners here. And so then you can go to this guy. You can just say, not there, add behavior. What did we, oh, we didn't name this. We need to name this so that we can find it. This will be, I don't know, TP fetch, sure. We find it here. Oh, and of course, most important, set this as a behavior, obviously. Now we can find it here, TP fetch, and then in here we can just set that index. This one was index 0. And now when we send that fetch TP endpoint, so if we go back to our player logic here, we go in there, I think that's where it put that one broadcaster that I didn't know where it was. So in here, we would have a step of broadcaster between all of these. Where did it put that? It put it back where the other one is didn't it? I want it here. Add me the broadcast listener. We'll have, oh, we already set that part. We just need the broadcaster. So here, probably like here, you could send these just into this. I guess actually you don't even need this. Like right from this start game, you can send the channel that you're looking for into your... Did I not make a signal that was TP fetch? Oh. Or I did just... Oh, I'm going too fast. But you get the idea. So from your start game, you immediately send that to the channel of your fetch signal, and then your fetch signal will go to the cube that you want, and from your endpoint signal, you can bring that back and send it directly into whichever mover you want. Whew. No problem. Really nice work here on this game, by the way. It looks great. The presentation on here is awesome. Oh, does it, PT? I didn't know that because I always add my own puzzle piece beforehand. Nice one. Thanks. All right, question. Aha, in my build together template, what should I change in logic so I can spawn a block on a platform when there is an empty space between the ground and the platform? Let's take a look. All right, sorry, Iver, I'm not going to save any of this because I may have butchered some stuff in your game. I don't want to break it. But yeah, if you need any more help with that, definitely let us know. Let me know. I'm sure we can help you out. So let's go to my own profile. And we'll go to the build together template. Let's do a remix here. We don't need to look at the tutorial. Okay, so what you want to do is, I assume, like, let's go to models. Let's go to platform. And we'll put like, I don't know, just like this first guy, sure. And this guy's a little bit up in the air. So we have empty space underneath. And I guess what you want to do is go to that platform. Like this is now going still down to the ground, and that's not what you're looking for. It does, interestingly enough, though, skip the platform. All right, it's been a while since I worked with this. Let's see if we can figure this out. So what we're looking for here is our probably our spawn point indicator. And so this has a raycast that should be looking at pretty much everything except for the orange group. And then we have the block spawner there. That shouldn't matter though. This is definitely the spawn point indicator is what we want to be working with here. But it is a little odd to me that it doesn't just work already, because it should, based on what I'm looking at here. Maybe this platform was just a little too small. What if we make this bigger? Does it still not work? It still doesn't work. For why? That is getting its data, I guess, from the player controls. So what do we have in here? Spawn block, player init. Snap to grid. Player position and direction. It's getting from the function caller, which is It's here. Player position and direction just come from the function caller there. This is always on. That is interesting. I wonder if there's any, like, can I trick it? Like if there's no space there, does it then work? That works. But when there's a space, it doesn't work. And I think it is because, let's go back over here. I don't know exactly what's going on in this function, Yelp, or this formula. Yelp wrote this formula, but essentially that formula should just be snapping the thing to the grid. But essentially, I think what is happening here is the cube by default wants to be on the ground. So when you jump up to a platform, it stays on the ground because there's nothing telling it. I mean, it's getting the Y position from. How much? Oops. How much time do we have, by the way? Oh my God, the stream's almost over. Yeah, so if there's any gap there, it doesn't go up with you. So what we need is something to tell that when the player is above, it needs to check if there is an object in front of the player. I think because the stream is basically over here, I might have to get back to you on this one. As I mentioned, it has been a little while since I created this, and I did have help, and particularly with this little bit of logic here, which is what is determining where this indicator goes. I had help with that, so I don't know exactly what it's doing. But I do think that it should still. Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask. I'm gonna have to ask Yuso, see if he can help us out with that. Yeah, well, there is a question that PT already answered. Your player save nodes need to exist in your world. They cannot be in a reusable or a behavior, because those nodes may not necessarily be in the world at all times. So definitely, if you want to save data, I would recommend just a plain container. A function container is very useful because you can use the inputs and outputs then to call that data anywhere in your game. But yeah, your saved data wants to be in the game, not in player reusable or something like that. Yeah, exactly. SG there. It's like this raycast is what I thought too. This should be telling it to go up when you're on a platform, but it's not, and I'm not sure why. So I'm gonna have to ask somebody about that one. And then, yeah, also PT doing good work in the chat. If there's a game you would like us to play, put the hashtag #PlayMeLive in your game's description. You can also share it to the Show Your Game channels on either our Discord or our Telegram. And then when we do a gameplay stream, that is where we will source the games we play from. Next week on the stream, we will be doing some gameplay stuff, but I think we're not going to be playing just any old games. We're going to be playing the monthly winner games from last month, which should be announced sometime next week, hopefully before the stream. And that, I think, is going to do it for the stream today. Sorry I couldn't figure out this last one, but I'll see if I can get an answer for you for next time. And of course, if there's anything you need help with, our Discord and Telegram groups are great places to go to ask for help. We also have the learning hub, learn.hypehype.com, where you can go and get all kinds of documentation and other helpful resources for using the HypeHype editor. And that's going to do it for today. Thanks you so much, everybody, for coming and hanging out. Thanks for some awesome questions. You guys kept me on my toes today with the questions. I love it. So much fun. I had a great time today. Seriously, I really like when you guys give me some questions. Give me some brain scratchers that I have to think about and try and work out some problems. I love it. It's why I do these streams, is to help you guys. But until next time, I'm Shogun. This has been the HypeHype Live. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Thursday, awesome Friday, incredible weekend. Peace out, Hypesters.